Okay, you can see the screen?
Yes, it's visible. So I'll start. So we have the agenda where we're gonna go into what we do at Simplify, really short. We're gonna talk about what ESI and Didrik are doing with their platform and their program for companies, startups, and then specifically how they see the role of AI and chatbot in this regard. And then hopefully we'll see some demo of the studio and how it looks in the backend. So short about us. My name is Daniel Anderson, and if you scroll one screen, Didrik, I'm a business developer at Simplify. And I'm responsible for bringing out our chatbot products out into the world, but also the other products. And we have Didrik with us. He's going to talk more about his role. You can scroll, Didrik. He's the CEO.
Yeah, I'm the CEO.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're doing it? Okay.
Yeah. Didrik is CEO at ESE, and we'll talk more about YCI later. So next slide, Didrik. So our vision in Simplify is to bring the benefit of artificial intelligence to the future workforce. And we believe that all companies will use different AI products. And right now we are building and maintaining products that companies are using. And it's working really well. Next slide. So we have a couple of different modules and ways to think about this. So we have the chatbot product, we have an email bot product, and we have a document product. All these products are in interaction with the customers, and putting them together, we build digital employees, but you could also buy one product specifically and only use that as ESE and Didrik is doing. And if you continue, Didrik. So we have all this interaction in different surfaces. Chatbot and the chatbot format and channel is one form channel, but email is the big thing. So if you're interested in how automating email, you should follow up with us. We're going to do more webinars about that. And then we have the document bot where we read attachment and also make decisions based on that. After that, we take decisions, or the engine takes decisions for us, and we can program it. And the next part, if you do some scrolling, Didrik, is we're not only having all the interactions and taking the decisions, we're also integrating with back office systems. If we can't do direct integrations, we do a workaround with RPA, or robotic processing automation. So that's a little bit from us. So I'll hand it over to Didrik.
All right, everybody can hear me fine, I hope, and see the screen, and I'm not sure if you see my face, but yeah, I'm the CEO of Young Sustainable Impact, and first I'll just explain to you what YSI has been and what we've been doing for the past 3-4 years. Our mission has always been to empowering youth to solve sustainability challenges by creating measurable impact, which I find an interesting or an important part is the measurable impact. We want, to be clear that one of our solutions gave clean water to 1,000 people, for example. We want it to be measurable and clear. We've been working with the main thing that YSI has been doing is a generated youth-driven sustainable businesses through our innovation program. We have built a youth movement that we call Earthpreneurs. It's a community that you can find online as well. And thirdly, we are working with businesses by influencing, working with them, helping them to come up with sustainable sort of approaches to their operation. Just quick about our program. The program that people have gone through is that we have people applying to our program as individuals, and they start from scratch working remotely. So it's a very different program than many of the ones you've heard about. It's also done 4.5 months remotely before they come to Oslo for 2 weeks. They go through team building, research, and finding a clear problem. They come up with ideas and concepts before they test those concepts in real life. If they've been able to come up with a solution that works, they continue building sort of the prototype and product and start making a brand around themselves. All in 5 months. Obviously, they continue working after to actually make the startup a reality. Or not everyone, but many. Part of the problem is that we've been working with young people, and young people lack experience, lack resources, but do have, of course, a lot of strength as well. Working remotely has been difficult. Obviously, today with the COVID-19 crisis, everybody is forced to sort of work remotely. So I think actually our program will be a lot more simple to handle later, because now like no one is afraid of working remotely, hopefully, after this. So yeah, and the third thing is we focusing on breakthrough innovation rather than just, companies that make money. Wisei's gotten a lot of traction over the years. We've been having in 2016 50 applicants, which then in 2017 turned into 10,000 applicants from 170 countries. And we went down a little bit the year after, but then we jumped upwards again in 2019, setting a record of 12,500 applicants from 180 countries. And every year we have people that are in our program from almost all continents. They get knowledge, tools, community and network, money and access to different things, and mentors and partners that help them to get their startup up and running. Some examples is Aquasolis Global, who is giving clean water down in Tanzania right now, in partnerships with local organizations that sort of help them to be able to, on the ground, get that solution out. Other simpler solutions like Way More Hair is a recycled 10 recycled plastic bottles into a t-shirt. It's simple enough, but in India, getting plastic bottles from the ground and from places around and making value of it is something that is very valuable, especially in countries. In Norway, for example, you take your plastic bottles and you get money back by sorting it out. So, but that's not in India, for example. Let me pick one here. The one that you see, the pea place. I don't know what is in English. Pissoir. Anyways, this is it's a prototype that sort of checks if you have chronic kidney disease. So you pee inside of these 7 sensors that you can see in the prototype. The very, very homemade prototype, as you can see. But peeing on those will give you an indication if you should go and visit a doctor based on the likelihood of you having a chronic kidney disease. So the point is that there's a lot of different types of startups in our program. We also started the program in Bangladesh, China, and Southeast Asia with a base in Singapore. So right now we have had 10 programs in total in the global in Norway and the other local and regionals, which you see here. So that's what we've been working with the past years. And some of the problems we saw that we have so many applicants, but can only take in a very small percentage. 0.25% gets into our program from the people that apply. Obviously, there's so much more talent than those that get in. So part of the problem is that we need something more scalable, something that can help a lot more people. And that's where the new strategy of Wisei is going and has been going for the past months. Because over the past 3 years, we've been building our learning structure, our innovation library, our Earthpreneurs community, how to work remotely, and different things that sort of helps us to enable entrepreneurs to create something from scratch or to get their ideas into reality. And together with all of this and the AI chatbot that we're working on now using Simplify System, we're trying to take all of the things that we have into one online platform so that we can enable scale to programs, as well as scaling the amount of people that we can take in our programs, but also help others to make their programs. So next up, I'm going to share the mock-up of the platform, just so you can understand, because again, we just gotten 3 developers on board so that you can, but we haven't started coding it so far. So basically, I'll show you the mock-up of the platform so you can understand a bit more. Chatbot in action, and then I'm about to show some chatbot backend stuff. So just stay tuned, and I'll find the let me see. Yeah, give me 2 seconds. I have to go onto Adobe XD so that I can show the prototype, but it will be worth it. It's not a prototype, sorry, it's a mock-up. And again, I'm not a designer, I just know what I want from the platform, and hopefully it enables you guys to understand a little bit what we're trying to do and why the chatbot will be very valuable once we get to it. Let me see here. And here we go. So I hope you guys see the screen now. And a bit struggling here, but now I am ready. Thank you for being patient. So here you'll find, this is just the login. One very important part of YSI's platform will be the data that people give to the platform about themselves and their startup. So the more detailed you're about your passions, the skills, what you're working on, your experience, everything will help us to provide valuable content to you and the others on the platform. One of the reasons this is that when you go to the program, you will tell a little bit about your startup so that we can put you in the right path. Instead of you getting into a program that is static, you'll get a program that helps to start where you are and always follow based on the information that you give to it. So for example, here in this scenario, you have gotten on this platform, and basically it tells you that you will start on defining scope model 2 based on what you told the system. Does this sound good? Then you can continue, jump to ideation or add T modules, or check yourself to be able to easier find out where to go. And in this platform, it's not going to be just reading and learning. It's going to be either learn more or go straight to creating, so that you can always work on action-based content rather than just reading and consuming content. And part of the reason we do this is that people are supposed to work while they're learning and make mistakes and ask for help. This is why your team will always have these things that you're working on inside of your own profile, so that you can download it to PDF or Google Docs. You can work on it inside of the platform, but you can also submit to Canvas, to community, and sort of give people insights on how to do it. And then you can learn from other community examples. So that's just a brief thing there. And then very quickly about the community, which is supposed to be videos in the forum, but maybe the most exciting feature will be the help feature. So based on AI and algorithms, if you post a problem, that's supposed to be going to the people that is most likely to help it based on their profiles. So if I ask, hey, I need help to create a good pitch in a startup that works on clean water and sanitation, then people in clean water and sanitation who says that they're good at pitching will get that up in their feed, and they can help with incentives to help, of course. And as you always can see in the left corner, are you stuck? Ask the chatbot. So if you're learning in the program and you're stuck, like what is Lean Canvas, then that's when you're supposed to use this. All right, so I'm not going to go too much more into this because it's not perfect enough to show very much, but now at least you maybe get some idea. Let me see if there's some questions here. I'm wondering how easy it might be to enable a chatbot. Is there a chance to interact with a sample? Yes, so I'm coming to that now. So the next stage of this presentation will just be to show you guys what we're doing in the chatbot. Let me quickly get it up there. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to show you like the mock-up so that you understood that the chatbot will always be there for helping entrepreneurs in the learning program. This is to create more dynamic learning, and it's literally impossible to know what a learner needs at every given time. But using this helps us to sort of to always help them where they are without really knowing, because they would know themselves. What I'm showing you here is basically deeply into the program and the content that we're working on. So it's all the topics that we would try to encapsulate that you could learn about. This is about the team, or everything from expectations, working effectively in problems, design thinking, forces, current conditions, so many different things. And in all of these topics is something you can find inside of the platform. And we use all of this to be able to understand what we need to put into the learning, to the chatbot. So let me just quickly show you what I mean when it comes to how the chatbot works. So we use all of this stuff. And if you now go into the chatbot itself, it will look like this when you come to, if you go to /chatbot, you'll find it. But for now, just pay attention to the screen sharing. Inside of the chatbot, you can always just click yourself around, like find a solution, get to market, the different topics inside of our program. But the idea is that if I need to get help, for example, but I don't know how to come up with chatbots, how can I come up with good solutions? And then either it catches it, and this is the retraining that we're working on now. How can I come up with good solutions? Okay, what is a good idea? Can I ask the chatbot, and then maybe it will answer me more specifically, which now it did. And then it says, coming up with and choosing the best ideas to go forward can be very difficult. And then we've basically given them workshops, methods to choose, and workshops, problem to idea, and so on. And if you guys could add on the, let me just pull this up. On the chat now, can you type me a sentence that you want to ask, that you want me to ask the chatbot, just to try it out? Like, we just started training it, so this is very early in the process, but just by one retraining, it's been able to answer almost double the amount of questions just by retraining one time. And how that works, I'll show you very soon. No, this doesn't answer, this answers specifically inside of, for example, when you go to the innovation program, you will work with building a startup from scratch. So you will go through different startup stages, and I can only help, okay, how do I start a company? I don't think it has anything on this. Basically, how you start a company is all of these steps, so it's like, we'll see. Nope, it did not understand that. Do you give funding? No, we don't. Yeah, we give some funding if they go to our program, but not if you're going to go the online program. Okay, find the best team members. Oops, find the best. Okay, there we have. It gave me something, but not the exact thing. As you can see now, it's a lot of like, sometimes it works, sometimes it gives nothing, sometimes it gives the wrong thing. Let me see here. Culture fit. Culture fit. Okay, so here we have, this is actually a pretty good bite, because here we have something called different cultures can be inspiring and really confusing. But here is a tool that might help you understand each other better through mapping preferences. So culture map is a really good tool to use when you're working in a team with different cultures, for example. It's actually good even if you're in the same country, because people are so different. All right, so this is how the chatbot will always be available to help me when I'm struggling with understanding content, or if I just need some help, or a workshop, a tool, anything really that it's inside of the startup world from nothing to get to market stage. So that's very interesting. And I'll now show you very quickly what we do on the retraining. So when I log in here, I get into sort of my studio, and I can then look at the retraining. And as you can see here, how to come up with a good ID. And it didn't know what to do. It says confidence, choosing IDs, and that's correct. So then I can just say, no, I don't need to say anything then. I can then just click this. The thing is that we go into every wrong ones, and then we try to see how do we test our solutions, ways to test. It has an 85% confidence that this is the correct response. And our job is to always go and find the smallest ones and retrain it. For example, what I did here is that I asked how to find our position in the market. And it gave me solution interviews, which is totally different. And it's 60%, 66% confident. And then I had to retrain it that this is go get to marketing on sending people there, not to solution interviews. Okay, and as you can see, we have asked a lot of different questions. For example, on the ones that they answered, it was maybe 19 last week, and we did one big session where we asked it a lot of questions and then did retraining. And then it did almost over 120 more correct ones just after. So that's the game. The name of the game is basically retraining, and asking a ton of questions and getting other people to ask a ton of questions. So one thing that is actually very helpful is if you go to this here, I can actually send this. If you go there and you ask it a lot of questions, sorry?
Yeah, so I posted a link to people. So you could actually go to the Simplify Studio and check if you got the results in from what people asked now, if you take on the last day.
Yeah.
Because I think people have tried it a little bit now.
Yeah, let me see. It's 18th today or 17th? 18th.
You can just choose last day to the right.
Yeah. So for example, here we say culture fit. It was 99% correct. That's very good. Let us see if it was a... Wait, where is it? Yeah, find the best team members. The reason it can't find here is that we have not made find the best team members yet. So this is something that I have to do. What it's actually answering here is how to create the best team. Part of that is working to understand each other. So that's why it put that up there. What is a good idea? Creative choosing IDs. Yeah, as you can see, there's but you can also then go to giving up. So for example, how do I start a company? So the question to how do I start a company is all the 5 modules, but I see that I need to have more general questions so that every time someone asks that, I can take them to the correct place of like where to start. And how can I come up with good solutions? And it gave me team. Here I can then go to intent name, and I can say choose. No, ID, creative choosing IDs, and then retraining, start training. And once I've been doing that, I can just retrain it on the ones that I've been working on. And then it will take a little bit of time. The last thing I want to show you is the response flow. So this is how it looks like inside of the platform. So I will then, on the welcome, you have basically the different parts of the program, as you can see here. So it's team, individuals, problem, find solution, and so on. So if I go to test solution, there's the different areas inside there, and then even further in. So if you, for example, are test solution and you talk about problem, solution, and demand, we can then go to responses and say, this is what I wanted to say, and these are the things I want them to do. And then I basically want them to go to either one of these. And if you then go to start testing, the same will happen, but then I can give you, for example, some tips and links instead. Any questions about anything inside here specifically?
Well, so I have a thing. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit more about the transition you're doing from programs with limited amounts of people, and now you're creating an online platform for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. So if you could just talk a little bit about that, and then we can gather some questions.
Yeah. Well, like I showed you earlier, we've been running this innovation program where we use a lot of manual powers. Like I have to be everywhere. Like my other team members have to be everywhere, right? So it's a very big limit to how many people we can help, because it's limited to the amount of resources and people we have. And that's okay. We can run programs like that because it's very good with qualitative programs. The question that we asked ourselves is, how do we make quality at scale? So how do we help more people in the same quality that we do to very few? And the way we can do that is to automate, use algorithms and big data to be able to help people find the right information, to guide them based on their own preferences and where they are in their sort of journey. So that means if I'm working on an idea changes, like I'm adding team members, that the program should change. The program shouldn't be static. The program should automatically change based on the new information. And so it's, while that is possible in a lot of ways, it's not always possible to do that on every level, like every conceivable level. So that's why we, together with the community, the algorithms of the system and the chatbot can be able to sort of cover almost all areas of where people would need help in the making. How long before you get a chatbot? You know? Okay, so for that question, I don't know yet. But the thing is that I told you that from one retraining, like we had 6 people sit down in a room and ask it a lot of questions in like an hour, and then we basically retrained all are stable already, and this is one time. But you should, when you're doing a complex system like what is happening now with this chatbot we're making, you should probably think of doing more and more retraining. And then like when David asked, how do I create a startup, which is the whole program basically, then I have to think new, like, okay, how do I answer questions that are more in general like that, for example. So there's no time. You, like, for example, a team that works really hard for 3 weeks can get much longer than somebody who's only working for slowly for a long time, you know? So the more you work, the faster you can do it. And retraining is the most effective ways to, getting people to ask questions is the most effective way to know what to retrain and what to add in the chatbot.
So I would also add that when you think about the chatbot, you could think about a specialist bot or a general bot. So for example, if you're at the airport and you lost your luggage, and there is a luggage chatbot you could talk with, and it only knows things about luggage, right? So it's not a Norwegian chatbot, it's the Norwegian luggage chatbot. That's really useful. So if you have like a really small problem that you want to solve, it can take like just a couple of hours to spin up the bot and create the dialogue and have it up and running. If you're doing what YSI is doing, you need more time. And if you're a big company with a lot of different processes and different products, it's going to take you a couple of weeks. So question to you, Didrik. What the people who attend now and want to follow your process, what should they do with that page? And also, at what time are you going to launch this new platform?
The new platform is, we're hoping to have our first MVP. So basically, we have a mock-up, and we're going to do maybe 1/3 of that mock-up into an actual MVP, which we hope will be testable. That means it won't be ready, but it will be testable in June or July. But the chatbot will be operational long before that. So we hope that the chatbot can be operational already now in April. That means we're going to use the chatbot as a single standalone product to test how it can be helping entrepreneurs. Just to mention that, so what we do, right, is that we make all these small products, like the program. We tested the program for 3 years. We're also running a COVID-19 response program now for 4 weeks. So we're testing already always like what content works and how does people like that, you know. Then we make the chatbot, which helps entrepreneurs, no matter if it's it can help people alone. It doesn't need to have the platform itself. And then the second thing we're making is a board game. This board game is meant to sort of help help people to create good relationships with each other if they don't know each other, or to have a fun session with their team. So playing the board game, which you can find in the link below, is something you can do with the team. Yeah, so that's a little long answer, but the chatbot will hopefully be ready in April to sort of be a friend for people, or at least we can see how people like to use it, or if they get enough help from it. Yeah.
Perfect. We're at 32 minutes, and I think we should end it here. So, yes, let's see if we get some more questions. But if you guys want to follow up with me and Didrik, I posted the emails to us. We're happy to take questions on email, and then set up a video call if needed. Do you have anything more to add? How so simplify measures? Runar, could you say that question again? Yeah, I'm not sure what Runar is meaning here, but I think we end the seminar now. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It was a pleasure, and even though we could do it in these COVID times. Yeah, maybe you could try to answer the last question before we go, Didrik.
So how happy the users are of the answer? Oh yeah, yeah. I think we added a feedback thing every time you get an answer. You can sort of give a thumbs up how happy you are with the answer, so that we can get some sort of understanding if people enjoy the feedback or not, which is possible. And this is something that we got help from the Simplify team to actually implement. So that's always, if you have any questions, it's always just to ask the team, and they'll help you to sort of implement whatever you need.
Perfect. Okay, I think we're calling it a day.
All right. Thank you for everyone for listening, and hope you guys also are trying out some startup stuff and chatbot stuff and everything. And then, yeah, let me know if you want to try it out. You have the link to the chatbot, so please ask it questions, because then we can retrain it faster. Yeah, thanks for me.